Hello everyone and very welcome to my opening speech about gamification. Of course, a few projects I wanted to share. Thanks very much to the organization for having me and inviting me to do this talk, all the way from Netherlands. So two projects I wanted to share. We have about 10 to 15 minutes, I think, to talk you through it. So the first project we did for a large accountancy firm that most people will know. You'll probably see it if I show the case to you. And what they were searching for was actually a solution for them to talk about sustainable business. Yeah, so sustainable business is a priority for most companies these days, especially in the Netherlands and I think in Western Europe, maybe not globally, I don't know. But doing sustainable business is important for them, and they wanted to bring the message across. And basically when we dove into the briefing, I asked them like, okay, what do you really want in the essence? And the client said, well, I think in the essence we want our employees, our consultants, to be able to do a pitch. You could say a barbecue pitch or a pitch, an elevator pitch, literally when you're in the elevator with a client, explaining what type of job you actually have and what value you contribute to the client regarding sustainable business. So they had about 18 different topics regarding sustainable business, which was a sort of specialization, you could say. And obviously we went through our gamification canvas to come from the objective for the client to the target audience towards a game concept that we felt was the best solution for them. Then we talked about the context within the game needed to function, and eventually, of course, the content in the game, meaning mechanics, visual design, and literally the content, the quests that should be in it. Now, as with any project, this project went not linear. It was a bumpy ride because there were about 18 different consultants that I needed to consult to write the content, but they're all very busy and professional people that they thought, writing content for a game, that's not my expertise. I'm too important to do that. So it was kind of a struggle to get out of them what we needed. And also concept-wise, there were, of course, a lot of ideas, but you also need to be realistic that if you want consultants to play a game and they're not used to playing games, that maybe something that looks similar to an e-learning is the best thing you can do. Although we didn't want to create an e-learning, of course, but if you look at the visual style of the game eventually, then it does match that. Eventually we did have content in terms of questions and answers, and there were answers that were more or less the best answer. So it wasn't only right and wrong, it was also a bad answer, a good answer, but also the best answer. So there were variations, you could say. And because it was about sustainable impact, we chose to create a world, a world where you could see right now there were nuclear reactors, a lot of cars, and maybe not the nicest world that we have, but it's actually the current state of things. Yeah, the world right now doesn't look that fantastic, you could say. There's even a war going on, so make love, not war. And we're talking about games. But anyhow, so we developed a world that would evolve if you would solve quests. And more quests you would solve, the better the world would look. It would have more buildings and more trees or more cars driving around, but also more sustainable buildings and more healthy buildings. So in the beginning there would only be a burger chain, but eventually when you keep playing, you also have a smoothie bar, or instead of a nuclear plant, you have a windmill and other sustainable industries. So that basically was the game for the big accountancy firm. If I can, I'll show you some video footage in between. So the second project I wanted to share with you is a project we did for a big company in Belgium, and they hire people for their clients. So they work for big logistic firms or big logistic companies, and they provide them with staff. So in this specific case, it was about order picking staff. And they wanted us to build a game so they could assess if people were suitable to first of all do the work in a logistic warehouse, so as an order picker. Secondly, to see how well they matched with the company they had in mind. So you could imagine there's big warehouses in Belgium in certain places, for instance for Nike or Adidas or Puma or DHL and other companies. And you could imagine that different companies have different values, right? And they require maybe a different type of people that work there. Because they saw there's a lot of churn in the amount of people that they provide. And you could say that some warehouses, they propose 10,000 employees a year, but if of those 10,000, about 8,000 people leave within a year, there is a lot of churn. So it's that bad that sometimes people leave after 6 weeks already. So you do all this work to assess the right person and say, okay, yeah, I think you're suitable, qualified to work here at Nike. You start working, but in 6 weeks they already leave because there's a mismatch in expectations about the situations of working in a warehouse, or they just don't fit because of being a different type of person than they really needed. So the goal for the game was to uncover the score on 3 competences and 9 attitudes, enabling people to find out who they are and what type of person they are. And the goal in the game, we said, was basically to work through a work week. So it was a story-based game. You could say we draw inspiration from The Walking Dead by Telltale, obviously without the zombies, and Police Quest, the old point-and-click adventure games. So it was a mainly story-driven game where you start your first working day at the reception. You need to, you say, hello, I'm this and this person. You need to show your badge, or receive your badge first, show your ID. Then you get registered, and then you go to the manager and you start your first day. And basically you go from quest to quest to quest, or at least from person to person, and you start working in the warehouse without necessarily training them in order picking, because that's not what the game was about. The game was basically about revealing what type of person they are and whether they are more into working together or whether they're more diligent, just trying to do their job the best way they could. So there's no right or wrong in this game, which is nice. So it's still story driven with answers and questions and consequences of those answers. But basically you just work through a couple of scenarios, and there were about 60 scenarios in the game to have a valid profile basically of the players. And we're testing it right now, so I have no data yet on the success or the way it's perceived, but it's being tested as we speak. I can just show you some of the conceptual images and explain the concept to you. So I hope you enjoyed. I'll show you a short walkthrough, and I'll put some captions underneath to give you some more information on what you're exactly looking at. So.